is coming up right now with FaZe on the CT side, this being the choice of ENCE, and they'll be filtering out with a bit of utility, a molly on Dotto, smoke, and a couple flashes. Smoke's already been tossed out as well onto Sandwich, trying to fake out a potential A hit, but they're actually going to be following in behind this, already spilling outside towards E-Box, where Rain is putting them down with a bit of pain. Twist on top of that, showing just why he's one of those most exciting prospects from NA. Missing a few shots there does afford them the luxury of going for a post plant, and Karrigan's trying to get up close with his USP. Player advantage now turns into a two-player advantage, and it's definitely faring in favor of FaZe. D-Hat and Snappy, Yadane and Paul, the last two members standing with a P250 in D-Hat's hands, and he removes the head of Twist. Bomb planted for Pop Dog, but FaZe have cleaned it up.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good execute from ENCE. You know, it's one of those rounds where you don't have much to work with on a pistol. You buy what utility you can. They had kind of some of the key smokes in place you need to get that initial space on that A side. They were able to get that bomb down, but eventually you have to take those post-plant battles. And unfortunately for ENCE, FaZe was really up to the task. Karrigan with a couple of big ones. The only person not getting a frag that round was Brokey. So it was a well-defended side from FaZe. They do concede the bomb plant. It does allow ENCE an earlier purchase than what FaZe were probably hoping for. And so we'll have to see how it plays out as ENCE, again, definitely have enough to be dangerous in this round. So they're looking to maybe get a pick towards outside Dotto on the scout.
Nice shot from Twist, though. Up close in the Pop Dog. Sprays down Alu, tries to transition into another couple, does significant damage, and Spinks will be finished off. The only ENCE member, though, that has struck thus far. Although Karrigan is low, they're going to try and hold on to both of their Galils. Dotto's also feeling worse for wear as well here, though Dust, but Snappy has at least came back in and puts the Latvian down.
Yeah, indeed he does, but they still have an uphill climb considering the health that they have and considering coldzera's positioning here, already pushing through the brown halls, already very near T-spawn, might catch ENCE in the back here as they try to transition towards Ivy, and even if he misses the timing, Karrigan should be right there, and I think Cole will spot them. Indeed he does. He'll tap out the FAMAS, doesn't actually land the mark, so they know that they're being flanked, but Cole does still have them boxed in at the very least and has the information on where they're positioned, knows if they will fall back. Actually decides just to get with his team. Not a bad call. You don't want to get singled out and get them away back into the round. So he will just come over with the squad. Limited time. And at this point, I'm not sure what they're going to do. They may even want to hold on to the Galils, to be 100% honest with you. I mean, they're so low on health. They're found out. And it's really hard to see them break through at this point.
Feels like a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. Snappy is going to go for that peak, though. Seems like they do want to end this round with some more bloodshed and carnage, and Snappy, well, he'll reap the rewards of their aggression. Dotto's also dipped in, and suddenly it's a 1-on-2. coldzera, with it all to do by himself, the smoke will afford the save. Blunt with 6 seconds. ENCE have clutched that. Never looked likely, never looked like it should have happened. Yeah,
that was so good by them to be just kind of patient and play out the rest of the clock, knowing that eventually Cold's going to have to kind of fall back and regather with his team. That gives you a way to come in, and Dotto just absolutely gets to jump on the Ivy player, and it puts Cold in a very tough 1v2, and it was a good idea to commit just because economics-wise it made sense to commit, saving the Galils versus the loss bonus they would receive. You might as well give it a shot, and they were able to break in and get the job done. It puts FaZe on a deco, so an early skirmish leads to a 1-1 split here to kick things off, and it gives ENCE now the advantage to take the lead.
Seemed like they'd done everything spot on for FaZe up until the last few moments, and now with Desert Eagles they'll have to try and avenge that disappointing round. Rain and Twists come through with snappy 1 deeks. And now ENCE, they're struggling. They're submerged. Spinks is going to try and give them a couple more breaths of oxygen. But now, with the smokes clearing, Dotto's got to do a lot of work with this MAC-10. He's been tagged down, he's been weakened, and now Rain goes in for the peak, but Dotto takes his head off.
Yeah, that kill kind of alleviates all the pressure they were feeling. And also the bomb's not committed yet. They could still pivot it if they feel they need to. Dotto, with the expendable MAC-10, is able to try to keep getting information in space to see if he can build a safety net for a team to come in and plant the bomb. But unfortunately for him, he's been traded 2 for 1. That leaves Spinks alone. Yes, he does have the AK and the head armor and a decent amount of health and time on the clock. He'll be able to pivot over to enter, and he will very likely get this bomb plant. But this is now going to be a tough ask because these CTs can pick up some weapons if they so choose to explore that outer yard, and they can rotate together in a 2v1 and actually have a chance to reel this one back in despite ENCE's advantages coming into the round firepower.
Got a bit nervous there, though, because FaZe did peek out one by one as opposed to clumping together, as you said, and picking up their weapons. Maybe a little bit cognizant of the lack of kit, and now ENCE have the opportunity with Spinks to rummage together a rotation and take another avenue to defend the site. He's actually just stuck on the site itself, up close. This is where the glow should shine, but a lot of time has already ticked away. They need to get on the site, and in doing so, in amongst all this chaos, maybe Spinks can clutch it. There's the first spray down, needs to get the second. The full diffuser's coming through, runs out of ammunition, switches to the block. He's missing everything. Pull the knife out, man. Spinks, not like this. The full diffuse underneath his nose, and he must be gutted.
I'm gutted for him, Vince. That is so rough. He was in a tough post-plant spot. He could get boxed in from any angle, but he gets his first kill. He must have known where he planted, but just went full panic when that initial AK spray didn't pan out. I think if he just would have kept his composure a bit, he would have eventually been able to connect the dots, or maybe if you really think he's committing, you pull the knife out and try to go stabby mode, but either way, that sense of panic costs dearly. FaZe gets the round back. But the buy is still there for ENCE. They're going to have some AKs come through, but a great utility combo is going to get FaZe the first frag of the round.
Flash into B, Karrigan capitalizes. Spray down onto Snappy. Two more players over on Ivy, but the smoke will shroud their position, so Karrigan can't be sure of it. And D-Hat, one of those players to watch out for, as we highlighted, with an AK. Only one kill to his name thus far with 58 ADR. It's still early days. Smoked off as well from FaZe, and he has to back away as a result.
Yeah, two players already down for ENCE, and they still have zero control of any key area of the map, and they have Karrigan threatening a push over on Ivy to get even further intel for FaZe, on top of course, already having the 5-on-3 advantage. Clock is ticking. Karrigan continues to inch forward. He spots one, but Spinks catches him, and that's a big kill for ENCE. It starts to give them maybe some opportunities and some reads, though they are still a man behind. There's still a very formidable defense in place towards outer, and Cold can be that early alert system playing forward on that ramp inside the inner site. And so FaZe are still well set up to victory, but ENCE have an opening now, and that just adds to it.
That opening has been kicked wide and abruptly by D-Hat. 25 seconds. Now the rest of the troops have congregated in. Brokey 1-for-1 trade, a lot of damage to Spinks, who's been finished off. The MP9 does its job. 15 seconds, D-Hat has them both down in Pop Dog. He may not know that both players are here. You can see he's looking towards Connector as a parting gift of a dink from Rain's MP9 now goes in for more, and he re-peaks him twice. And he was based all off the fact that that second player was unknown, and that was always going to put doubts in the back of his mind. Very well played by FaZe, 3-1 lead.
Yeah, really smart by Rain to maintain that control of ladder room to ensure that Cold would get a safe rotation to have the 2-on-1, and Rain, knowing how much time was on the clock, was able to be just annoying with that MP9 and just burn time, knowing all the while that he was going to have coldzera set up as the insurance policy if needed be to be that follow-up to still secure the round. Wasn't required. They get it with Rain. It's going to be 3-1, and now money low for ENCE.
They spill out onto the site once again. This could be a reoccurring theme. This is where we were talking about maybe that lack of strategy playbook. Snappy straight through towards Ivy. As the two T's aggression do connect and fork in the road towards the site. Snappy goes in for another one, suddenly down to a 1-on-2. And hot off the back of FaZe, finally getting a bit of consistency and getting consecutive rounds. They've been put right into a 1-on-2 situation. coldzera's already been in one of these under very different circumstances, though. May get the drop and does get the drop on Snappy, but the last player of Alu is completely unknown. He has the bomb and gets the drop on coldzera from the back. Ice in Alu's veins, and ENCE somehow with Deagles make them work.
Yeah, that is a tough pill to swallow if you're FaZe. That's the round you need to be capitalizing on. That's your reward for the work that you've done the previous round to get kind of a freebie. Instead, they let ENCE slither right back in, and this game has been so back and forth. I don't know that a team's won 2 rounds in a row yet. I know it was 1-1 and 2-2, so yeah, I believe that at most someone's maybe won 2 in a row, so it is still very much up for grabs. No one's getting any type of real early economic control, and now FaZe are basically having to do what ENCE did the previous round and try to find a way to strike back and, you know, maintain a lead, avoid the tie, and try to punish ENCE's low economy, despite the fact that they themselves don't really have anything to spin here. They got the Deagles, and the scout of Brokey's already been found out.
Karrigan up close, getting 1 and a second. How the hell
Oh,
does he
wow.
manage to transition into that second 1D gone to D-Hat through the box as well? And just like that, FaZe take the advantage, and the AK-47 is saved by Carrigan.
Yeah, I mean, with Brokey going down, the bait and switch was still in play. They didn't check the corner, and they didn't. And so Kerrigan able to spring that trap with the deagle. As you said, though, you could not have expected a second kill to come out in that situation. But it's now turned this round on its head, and AK in Kerrigan's hands with armor. They have the 4-on-3 now. They're getting some intel with this aggression NT connector. They have 2 players already positioned in inner because of that. And so there is a very real chance that FaZe could just bring this right back and hold ENCE off yet again, considering that they do have Rain in this deep position, and they already had 2 players on this inner site. And Kerrigan's not too far off from rotating.
He's not. Twist can put a bullet down range. That is huge. And look where the bomb is spilled down. One of the 2 of them has to go back out into the open. Go up the ladders again. And Coldzera, he's striking in with more. 23 seconds on the clock. And I don't know if Dotto realizes just how grim this situation is. He's being flanked as well. And FaZe, it's their turn to come out with the Eagles. It's their turn to stick the landing. And it all comes off the back of the IGL. Carrigan, again, when he's called upon, he always delivers.
Yeah, just a great little bait and switch there between Brokey and Kerrigan in that Ivy Hall. Even with Brokey going down, like we said, Kerrigan was able to capitalize much more so than we expected. Did not see that second kill coming. And it's just a to and fro, Vince. It's the back and forth, a team stuck with 1 rifle or 1 scout and a bunch of pistols. And so far, the pistols have reigned supreme the last couple of rounds. We'll see if FaZe can try to establish some normalcy in this game as they're up 4-2. They were able to pick up a couple of AKs there for free. They still have Brokey on a scout. They have Cold again kind of playing forward here, just jiggle peeking for intel on the box halls. Does spot, will drop the smoke. Does get a rotation as well from Brokey with that scout looking towards upper side.
Lack of utility with a minute plus on the clock, so they will maneuver their way and erupt out onto the site. Coldzera, though, is the man for the job. He blockades with 2 kills and a lot of damage with the scout is being inflicted from Brokey. Going to be pushed from the side, but not before he silences Alu. It's another scrappy one. It's another round where maybe ENCE can sneak and slither their way out of the site and potentially to a third. But Twist's making moves in, and the Canadian will pounce. Aim on point and true to deliver the frag. He spots the second, but Carrigan takes it away from him. But even in rounds where FaZe have the superior firepower by an absolute mile, they're still conceding 3 players, and they're still not quite stabilizing that all-important economy.
Yeah, it's just tough when Brokey's getting run down by several players and all he's got is a scout to his name. It's going to rely on headshots or just kind of being the assist master. Luckily, Cole was able to get 2 kills before he went down, and Brokey was able to get his 1 kill as well as get some damage off on another to give Twist a chance to, from that sidewalk position, have some vulnerable targets in front of him. And so they were able to still work it out. And now, finally, we have a couple rounds in a row for FaZe. And so ENCE do have to essentially take an even bigger save here. They'll still have a few deagles, but even less utility. They won't have a hero rifle in play of any kind. So this should be that freebie for FaZe. This should be them getting kind of that, you know, no sweat required victory that you're kind of discussing, Vince, that will hopefully kind of settle some of this chaos.
Well, you'd certainly hope so, Dust, because if they're letting this one slip away, then we're in for a bit of a trouble on the CT side.
Absolutely.
Coldzera smoking off the push, still no AWP in play, which it really is as a direct result of how scrappy the start of this has been. They are pushing down ramp and Ivy simultaneously. Carrigan not for the first time, locking it down with a 2K over on Ivy, and the rest is falling into place. So not just the round, but potentially, I nearly said a clean sweep. Just cursed Brokey as a bullet passes between his eyes. And maybe Spinks can put another bit of damage down or not. Coldzera makes it a relatively clean round, and the first one that we've really had.
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of weird almost to get a normal round in this game based on what we've seen so far. But yeah, this one kind of played out exactly as one would expect considering what was on the board for each team. But now ENCE will have the economy back to at least get some AKs and head armor out there, as well as some sparse pieces of utility, though it's still certainly far from ideal as far as the amount of nades they have to work with, and still no AWP in play on a map that an AWP is so vital, you have to feel, with a lot of those long-range angles. So we're going to see some aggression from FaZe to get up close on ladder.
4 players kicking the round off on A. Understandable, a lot of the aggression that ENCE have shown has been via A main. and also Ivy. But now that they've got the weapons, they are going to be slowing down the pace. Only 3 smokes left, and not many flashes either, Dust. They are lacking on utility.
Sure, but the other side of the coin, Vince, is now that FaZe won a clean round, they have the money to have utility to slow down fast pushes with the smokes and incendiaries, which is forcing ENCE to play a little bit more careful. But they are still trying to explode in this inner yard, and they're actually making some progress. And now D-How is on pretty big flank in the back halls. This could get dangerous.
That's a dirty little off angle with the smoke as well, and D-Hat is flanking Brokey, who's finally got an open, takes him down. It looked like D-Hat was about to rip this round open and close it off for FaZe, but instead, FaZe stand tall, and it's that man Carrigan again with yet another multi-frag round. For me, though, that has to come down to Brokey. That shot he lands on D-Hab pretty much seals the deal.
Yeah, someone checked the back of his head for an extra pair of eyes, because I don't know how he got the read on that, but he turned around at the perfect time to shut down what could have been a round-ending play in favor of ENCE if he had gone down here to D-How. He would have been able to pinch the inner sight, and that would have made things very tough on FaZe, but instead, it's a victory for FaZe. ENCE now having to take a tactical timeout, and again, as I was kind of alluding to, you have now a fully decked out FaZe squad. They have everything that they could want except for maybe a second op, which they may not even want anyway. And so that means it's going to be a lot tougher on ENCE to get those early movements that they want to get towards Olaf, or, you know, just try to get that early positioning. It's going to be tougher, and it's going to give FaZe that added option now of not only being able to play standard, but because they have the utility superiority, they can get up close on ladder room. They can get up close on T-Con. They can play a more assertive style and mix and match how they want to approach the game. And that makes it so hard on a T-side team on Train when you have a CT team with all their options open to them on a map that already drifts towards that CT side anyway.
A map that ENCE elected to pick for themselves, and currently 7-2 behind. Yes, there's been a lot of very close rounds. So I don't think 7-2 necessarily paints the full picture, and there's every chance that they can bounce back. It's going to be a hero buy from Dotto. He has the AK, everybody else with their Deagles. We've already seen the Desert Eagles strike gold multiple times as ENCE look to move together with 4 players over on the Pop Dog and B-Hall side.
Right, but the other way you could look at it too, Vince, is like, let's be realistic. One of the rounds that ENCE won should have never happened with a bunch of pistols. So honestly, it's almost even worse than a 7-2 scoreline, in my opinion. Like, if FaZe had just tidied up a little bit, they could very easily have, you know, all the rounds so far played this game. So you could really go either way with it. But yes, there have been some close rounds, and ENCE have been able to throw a spanner in the works a couple of times with low econ. So we'll see if they can strike that direction once more as they, you know, are trying to maybe line up again one of those little back hall flanks. But the vast majority of their forces are still kind of deciding between whether or not they want to approach inner or use that ladder room to transition back over to A side, as we can see FaZe are just kind of holding the back line. They're not playing too forward just yet. They're kind of just playing standard and, you know, not trying to give ENCE a chance.
Time being starved away alongside real estate. ENCE taking control over Pop Dog. No chance at a fake. They're down to 3 smokes. One of it's just been dispersed to make that 2. Allowing them safe passage, potentially outside of Pop Dog, but FaZe are doing such a good job of actually falling back and using their superior weapons at range. Rain already tapping off the head of Spinks and be turning his attention towards E-Box, where he sees players pushing through, but D-Ha running interference, being the chaos creator, pushing straight through onto Ivy, and now Dotto's got him with 2 more frags. Rain needs to hold the line, 7 seconds left for the Norwegian, and he will fall on his sword. The one AK-47 they bring in is successful, and ENCE have stole away another one.
Yeah, it's one of those things where ENCE were doing such a great job, despite having low firepower, at just constantly forcing FaZe to scramble on where they should be focusing their attention. The way that they were timing out their peaks and duels was really causing FaZe to scramble on where the focus should be, particularly Rain, who just seemed to be like on a swivel the entire time, never quite confident on where he needed to be, you know, focused, and it really allowed ENCE to thrive in the chaos, which again, a lot of these players are used to playing that scrappy style of CS, and they're very comfortable with it. And they made it work there in a big, big way. You almost kind of feel for FaZe a bit, but again, those are rounds that you should be cleaning up when you have the superior firepower. And now they are the ones having to work with less, but they do have 2 ops in play, so that's a new change.
Also means it's a huge strain to their finances
Yes.
as well, though, Dust. You look at how much money they have in surplus, and it's, what, $200 collectively. So they lose this, enter every chance of them closing the gap.
Yeah, absolutely. That is very, Real possibility, as we do see Rain up close here on T-Con. So at least they're playing assertive. They're trying to get, you know, weapons up close like the MP9 to get their optimal use and to deny some space to ENCE, as well as get some information to let them feel confident in having these two players positioned in inner, while they have Kerrigan with an op kind of watching Ivy side, and he can also rotate quickly to Z if need be to help cover that inner site. So FaZe are doing the best they can with what they have as far as positioning goes.
Flash is good enough to force Brokey away and claim the kill. They reap the rewards onto coldzera. Brokey now, different angle. Keeping it mixed up as Alu chips in with his AWP, and with so much on the line, Brokey drops down from oil, not the ideal positioning. He needs help, but he's being effectively isolated from mollies and smokes that are tossed onto connector. You can see that Twist is still a bit cognizant and worried about a potential flank from Ivy. He has no idea as to what's coming up right now.
No, that's very true. ENCE has already exploited that a couple of rounds in a row. One time they got caught by Brokey. The other round, it won them the round. So you can understand why FaZe would be cautious of that. And you also understand, based on the economy, why they would want to just get that AK in FaZe's hands, save these two ops, and at least have 3 weapons coming into the next round, considering they have no real money to spend. This is a very good call. But ENCE starting to piece together a solid T side here. They win a very scrappy round in the previous thanks to good timing and just creating a lot of havoc and capitalizing. And now this round is just a very clean intake, good utility, you know, making sure that they didn't really allow safe rotations from FaZe. They've already conditioned their opponent to worry about a back hall's flank that really helped them in that round as it kept Twist hesitant. And so now they get their 4th round on the board, and now all of a sudden we could have a close half ENCE. Like, it does seem like ENCE are starting to build up a little bit here, and now you have a round for FaZe where they're going to have a couple of players without any real firepower in their hands. Now, Twist was past the op. I'd like to go to him because it seems like maybe he must have a spawn for something if they're choosing him to have the AWP over Kerrigan. It looks like he does have a better spawn to maybe run towards Ivy for a peek there, or even run towards Z for a peek towards T-Con. So that's why he's passed it forward, and Kerrigan will be with the Deagle here. Brokey also has a really good spawn as well. So, yeah, they're giving their best spawns the ops. Try to make a play.
Kerrigan's spawn here is absolutely trash as well.
Yeah,
it's like the worst possible. Plus, obviously, like Brokey and... they managed to save the Kevlar on both Brokey and Twist, so less of an issue when Shrapnel and Aim Punch and those kinds of things come into play. But we'll have to see how ENCE look to get aggressive. Their spawns weren't great either. I was just having a quick look there. They all spawned at the deep end, the backside of the T-spawns. They'll be pushing out early. Sandwich, Smoke, and Flash already tossed into play. And I'd understand if FaZe went for a couple of sort of risky plays here, Dust, when you know that you got 2 players on effectively just pistols.
Yeah, they did put their ops on their best spawns, and they did both take pretty aggressive peeks towards T-Con and Ivy, and they were able to get Rain in ladder room control based on their utility usage and their positioning. So not a bad play there from FaZe to, you know, at least put some pressure on ENCE early, not give them any space for free, and maybe even force ENCE to kind of reconsider what they want to do next on this approach. Alu is going to have the AWP in his own right now. So it is another factor that will play into this round that hadn't been there for the bulk of the half we've seen so far.
Big fan of ENCE slowing it down, knowing if there's any utility of FaZe, they'd go in for a force. It forces away some of those smokes and incendiaries.
Right.
The downside, though, Dust, is if they take too long, you can actually play into these double ups. You can play into this AK.
But there's no utility left for FaZe, by the way, for a hold or a retake at this point. So ENCE have done well to drain FaZe of virtually all their resources for the weapons that they have. Cold trying to get aggressive inner halls is going to be caught. It's a great pickup from Dado, but now you need to get a move on if you're ENCE, and they're doing just that.
Kerrigan, though, bit of a different angle. The back train, Rain and Twists have both put down frags. And with 23 seconds, now the pressure is swarming. They need some big picks, and Alu's going to come in with 1. Pop Dog is held onto. Position has been given away to his adversaries, and they will pray down and jump in with the round. It's FaZe's turn to squeak out a round that probably should have never been.
Yeah, and I think the key to that was Rain always having control of that ladder room. I feel like ENCE probably should have either really gone gung-ho on pushing him out with more than just 1 player peeking at a time, or they just needed to bypass it. You know, just come heavier out Ivy, come heavier through Olaf, kind of give up ladder, maybe play towards the backside of the bomb train, towards back halls, and just kind of play it out that way. Either way, they kind of just kept feeding Rain, and that really is what reeled the round back in for FaZe. for those decisions, as now we're seeing FaZe get mega aggressive. They put some heavy utility through Ivy lane, allowing Kerrigan to, again, hold this aggressive angle and slow down that position. In the meantime, Twist has also found a pick towards Olaf. So FaZe are, again, playing that very constricting forward angle style of defense. Oh my, it just gets worse with that. And oh, he can't even be traded by Dono. That is pivotal for FaZe that Cold's done that.
Great news across the board on the CTs. Diha has to try and dig them out this ditch, but Kerrigan just shovels a couple more loads. And now ENCE, well, they're down to Alu 1-on-4, 1-on-5, pardon me.
Yeah.
coldzera is still very much alive and
What
kicking.
loads of what was he shoveling on them, Vince? I have to know.
Soil.
Soil? Okay.
Yep. Burying him deep, Dust.
Deep.
This is a rough one, though, for Alu. I mean, you basically have to hold on to the AWP for 45 seconds. Maybe they can treat it as like a mini tactical timeout, but the options are pretty scarce at this point. And if he does end up getting hunted down, they're going to have very little for the next round.
Yeah, I'm curious how much they're going to expend to hunt him down. I mean, the money is pretty low for FaZe to rebuy, so expending too much would be maybe risky. But also, you know that if you do get this op out of Alu's hands, they have nothing to work with in the next round. And that reward might just be too tantalizing to pass up, as you can see that Kerrigan is indeed, you know, going hunting a little bit here. So it does seem like they are trying to find Alu out, and it seems like only a matter of time before they discover him.
Oh, it's after time, isn't it? That was a really close on the mark, actually. I think they may have killed him just before time. He's got $2,700 left, so maybe a bit of an overlook from FaZe. They could have done a little bit better.
I think they're still happy with the fact that they've gotten the op out of his hands, and they know that ENCE has no buy really going into this round, so they should being a very key word, what we've seen so far. Getting a free 10th round here, getting those double digits, getting that big CT lead you want on a map like Train, especially considering this is a map that they haven't played too much yet, and considering that, you know, this was the pick of ENCE, and they've had some good results on it throughout EPL so far, so this would be huge for them.
Straight out of A main once again. Flashes and smokes being tossed out. D has taken quite a bit of damage, but good flashes force away the CTs and opens it up for Diha. Surely not again, FaZe. Not to the hands of Tech9s and Deagles.
You would really hope so, because at that point, it would basically equate the amount of rounds ENCE have won with weapons versus rounds with just pistols like this. But it does seem like coldzera and Twist are, you know, bringing us back to sanity with those couple of kills, getting the main advantage for FaZe. Good incendiary here towards the bomb train, gonna flush these post-plant position players out into awkward space, allowing them to be reaped by Cold, who just continues to tee off with that AK, leaving Snappy all alone with the Tech9 here in the Brown Halls.
No molly to bank off the wall. He is living on borrowed time, and coldzera has collected. FaZe will be hitting double digits. Last round will yield the buy, but for my money, ENCE have got to win it.
Yeah, you would imagine that this last, you know, ditch effort with a full buy is going to be required, because if you allow FaZe an 11th round and you lose pistol in the second half, your chances of coming back on your pick are just so slim. You have to almost be perfect from that point forward to claw your way back in. So yeah, very big round here for ENCE to try to halt some of this FaZe momentum.
Rookie got aggressive. Nearly spots the player pushing in, which I believe would have been Dotto, who thought better of that decision, probably saved his life. Takes a bit of damage, and there's a smoke already down onto Ivy. At least ENCE are threatening multiple facets of the map.
Right. And that's where they thrived, right? I mean, that's where they were able to steal a couple rounds away, even with low firepowers, by forcing FaZe to scramble on what their responsibilities should be and finding little gaps in the armor to expose FaZe. And that's what they're trying to shoot for again in this round.
Smoke has forced away Kerrigan, but they may have to push out into him. He's on 13 kills at the moment, and it's coming head-to-head with Snappy, who takes his head clean off. Brokey gets one in return. A weakened Spinks has to pull the plug and get out of there, but the player advantage is in favor of ENCE, and now the grenade's starting to rain onto the site. Molly's to the top of Train, forcing away some of these angles. There's still 50 seconds to play with. That flick from Brokey is a thing of beauty, and he may not be done just yet. No players on Ivy, but there's no way of him knowing that. And so he has to be cognizant. He has to do his due diligence before he flicks in for another one. And Snappy, his next victim. He is a predator stalking this round. 30 seconds to play with, flash up and over, and a low Spinks has to try and somehow carve a path through the end of this round. Spinks now coming in, 17 HP left and he goes down. We'll be cutting to a break. When you join us, we'll see if FaZe can convert.
I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. I always wanted the world, I wanna conquer the world right now. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. I call the shots in the man with the plot and we only go bombs away. Ain't no one protecting my mind as a weapon, that's why I'ma dominate. Taking advantage of every second, now I ain't got time to waste. They all tryna sign my name, they want me to sign my name. Counting your blessing while I count that in my winnings. We take 50s and 100s and throw them up to the ceiling. Everything I envision, now everybody gon' witness. Only difference between us is I ain't stop till I finish. Yeah. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. I always wanted the world, I wanna conquer the world right now. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. Savage, you've been distracted, your best my average, there's a reason for that's a fact. So they snapping back, mad at the fact that I don't have a backup plan, I ain't need that. Outworking everybody when I relax, so I ain't tripping about none of y'all feedback. Heard that, wonder when I'm gonna peak at. And that's why you count your blessing while I count that in my winnings. We take 50s and 100s and throw them up to the ceiling. Everything I envision, now everybody gon' witness. Only difference between us is I ain't stop till I finish. Yeah. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. I always wanted the world, I wanna conquer the world right now. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. I always wanted the world, I wanna conquer the world right now. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. Shots in the man with the plot and we only go bombs away. Ain't no one protecting my mind as a weapon, that's why I'ma dominate. Taking advantage of every second, now I ain't got time to waste. They all tryna sign my name, they want me to sign my name. Counting your blessing while I count that in my winnings. We take 50s and 100s and throw them up to the ceiling. Everything I envision, now everybody gon' witness. Only difference between us is I ain't stop till I finish. Yeah. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. I feel on top of the world, I feel on top of the world right now. I always wanted the world, I wanna conquer the world.
We return to train. It hasn't been the ideal start for ENCE. Their choice of map went 11-4 against them, but they had chances, Dust. I feel like coming out of this, they'll feel like they could have got 6 or 7 rounds, but they let those opportunities slip through their fingers.
Yeah, but it's almost equaled out by the amount of miracle rounds they won with low firepower. So I'm kind of torn between whether or not they could have had more or whether they could have had less at this point. Either way, we are where we are, 11-4, still heavily in favor of FaZe, and you feel like a pistol round victory might be one of the final nails in the coffin for ENCE here on this map. So we are going to see some challenges go over towards Ivy.
2-for-1 trade. FaZe do take the advantage, and that hammer in the hands of Carrigan, as he is the puppet master right now, and he's pulling all the strings, and he's also pulling out a great performance for himself, by the way. Leading by example. Spinks, excellent headshot onto coldzera, gives them a chance into the round. They still have control over the bomb, though, FaZe, and they're looking to try and spill out onto A.
Yeah, it seems like that is the final destination here, as Twist is getting backstabbed, though, but he flicks the 180 for a dink onto D-How, forcing him into the back calls. Twist trades up to the USP, and now they start spilling out onto the site. Snappy being challenged over here in the back. Twist will finish him off. Kerrigan finds D-How, and now it's all on Spinks.
Already 1 kill to his name, and he's put a second in as well. Both players are very low. Brokey's on 1 HP and Twist's on 59. Now, ammunition may start to be a bit of a problem. Only 14 bullets left, putting them down and nearly flicks to the head of Twists. But with his life, maybe the map will follow. We had a very scrappy start to the first half, Dust, and ENCE will be hoping for more of the same.
Yeah, and I mean, you were talking about how Kerrigan's leading by example by fragging well. I mean, really, the whole team is firing, Vince. There's a 4-kill spread between bottom and top on the FaZe side. If you take Brokey out of the situation, there's only like 2 kills or so separating the other 4 players, so they really are getting great performances from the whole lineup, which again is probably one of the scariest things about FaZe. We know how much skill's on that team, you know, if players are on form. We know that Kerrigan is capable of being a very impactful fragger from the IGL position, even if he's not the most consistent at doing so. So when they're all popping off, and you have the, you know, veteran leadership of Kerrigan driving the team and what direction they're heading, they could very well be a crazy good squad going into the long term.
Full investment is coming up, but Kerrigan has already cut D-Hat down to size, and in doing so, a lot of that firepower goes with him. Now, I will say we did both highlight him as being one of those players that could be integral. He's had a bit of a rough game, Dust. He's 6 and 17. He hasn't quite had that impact that we were expecting.
No, that is certainly a good thing to point out. That does seem to be like one of the key stars of this team next to Spinks, as being those young upcomers that really could be the, you know, the carries of the team, so to speak, alongside someone like Alu, who is still that, you know, veteran sniper that's still very capable of producing numbers. So that is definitely something that could be factored into why ENCE has struggled so far. As should be a cleanup round for FaZe now, as they already have the 5-on-4, and again, the superior firepower, and Colt connects to Dotto, making it even better for FaZe.
Great flash also tossed in. Spinks has been isolated from his teammates alongside, I believe that's Snappy that's just above him off a well-placed smoke. That affords them to focus their fire and attention down onto A site. Post-plant now comes in. And I do think that in the back of ENCE's minds is we're not really going to get a good buy into the next round. We'll do well to hold on to these guns, but Snappy overextends, gives his life away. I think FaZe have a very good read of the situation. This is where you'd like to have a MAC-10 or 2, though, to hunt down the prey. They have full rifles, so they can't really justify going in too hard.
No, absolutely right. It's like one of those decisions to make. If you're going for Galil's, you're playing for the long term. You know that those weapons are going to carry over. I mean, obviously it got buffed quite some time ago now, and it's still a very viable weapon, especially if ENCE aren't going to have the economy to put together too much of it by themselves. So I think it's one of those things where you either commit to buying MAC-10s and farming, or you commit to playing clean CS, not chasing, and playing the Galils. And they've gone the second route and, you know, played it to perfection. You know, didn't lose anybody there. Up 13-4, on pace to have a big victory. Obviously, ENCE won't have much to say about it in this round. They'll have to put up their big resistance in the next, which will probably be their last stand, if we're honest, considering the way the score is playing out. So this next round, after this, which should be a 14th for FaZe, is going to be last chance to dance for ENCE.
A stat that you don't often see is that every single FaZe player has more frags than the top fragger on ENCE. Normally there's a player or 2 lagging behind, and it goes back to what you were talking about before, Dust, that everyone is pulling their weight, and that is the terrifying prospect of FaZe. They've been this kind of team for the longest time, this team that everyone could deliver big frags, big performances, and we're seeing it in unison, in tandem right here, and ENCE, they just can't handle the heat.
No, they need to get out the kitchen, Vince. As I know the Finns do like themselves a nice sauna, but there is a limit to the temperature, and I feel like ENCE has found it.
I'll see if they can douse off the flames a little bit here with some of these pistols. They still have that scout, as we highlighted before. They're able to successfully save, but Twists and Kerrigan turn it up a notch, pour the gasoline on, and although ENCE didn't really have much in this round, they'll have a buy into the next. As you touched on, it could be their last chance now. We've got into such dangerous, awkward situations where Snappy desperately just trying to clamber on for a kill or 2, and D-Hat with just a USP can't really foreseeably get anything out of this round at this point.
Yeah, when you had that line about dousing gasoline, my brain is so broken that I was thinking about someone throwing gasoline inside of a sauna, and I can only imagine how horrible of an outcome that would be.
Yeah, definitely don't do that at home, guys. Definitely don't.
Is there an open flame in a sauna, though? I thought it was just like hot stones, so maybe... Nah, it'd still probably be pretty bad.
There can be some saunas, yeah, that have like a fire in it as well.
Oh, okay. It's not very prevalent in the States, so I don't know too much about them.
That's
But
more of
I
a
just
Finnish
imagine,
thing,
yeah, anything that involves human contact with gasoline is probably bad, though. So.
Yes. Don't advise it. Definitely don't. Oh, those grenades though are looking good. And ENCE out of the back of a buy with plenty of orgs and an AWP have sustained one casualty in the form of Spink, smoke, mollies, flashes, everything being tossed onto A side as this war ensues. ENCE fighting down. They know the importance to try and remedy the situation. The spiraling downward trend has continued, and it's the Canadian that tries to just twist the knife in their back with his AK down to 5 bullets. But Coldzera steps up alongside Twists, and that could be it for ENCE. The curtain comes down.
I love the shot calling from FaZe. They know they have ENCE up against the ropes, and they know that that's ENCE's real last chance. And so for FaZe just to go ahead and go out swinging at that rapid of a pace, you're really forcing ENCE to be like, all right, man, this is your chance. You better show us something because this is it. And you don't really even give ENCE room to breathe. You just smother them with firepower, and such good patience from Twist and Cold in tandem there to trade their way through it all. And now they have themselves a map point against an ENCE that's fought as much as they can, but it's certainly far from ideal.
And this has been a far cry from their performances against the likes of Vitality.
Yes.
It's been a bit of a dud so far, I think it's safe to say. Twist, though, is just going to put this off as fast as possible. Administer the mercy across to ENCE, who are floating away into the nether. It's all on Dotto with a scout in hand, and as much as he's doing damage and landing some frags, it feels like just a drop in the bucket, and they will be doused down fully. FaZe consistently have been the better team, and they convert 16-4. We're headed to a break after we'll be